Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are back. Another day in the market. Hope everybody's doing well. Not a good day for pretty much everything crypto, American markets, European markets, Asian markets, kind of red around the world. So yeah, it's kind of why I started off with like the thunderstorm track. But we got the vibes now. I mean, regardless, doesn't matter what the market's doing. We're just here for education, to talk about how things are going, and just for vibes. So hopefully we're in for a fun stream. We'll see how it is. You know, it's usually when we have days like this, it's a little bit tougher sometimes because, you know, everybody's kind of waiting for better times to come out. But it's always the truth, right? The market always kind of represents the truth. Every single day, whatever the price of a certain asset is, that's the truth. That's where the supply and the demand is. You know, manipulation, just regular movement cycles, the truth is always reflected in the price, regardless of what is behind that truth. And then your job is to kind of identify what the next truth could be for, you know, an asset or a security. And that's why we're looking at charts, and that's what we're trying to do with just analyzing the psychology of other people around the world using candlesticks and indicators and whatnot. So yeah, here's going to be the flow. We're going to talk about Bitcoin. Then we're going to be spending an extended amount of time just covering the overall market, because in conditions like this, I mean, obviously not every stock counts. There's going to be stocks that just kind of are the needle in the haystack. But in conditions like this, most stocks move together. There's high volatility, and the market indices will just kind of represent how the whole entire bunch is moving. So, you know, just using regular technicals on individual stocks tonight, of course it can work. It's just probabilities kind of change when you have a lot of overall market volatility. So we're definitely going to be spending more time talking about the market. But yeah, you know, overall it is what it is. If you attended the workshop I did, like, I think it was the weekend before last weekend, it was literally talking about how to, you know, navigate a red market. So if you attended that workshop, hopefully you've been managing this pretty well. Of course, there's always the course in the description, but always just make sure you're prepared for stuff like this, right? We always talk about technicals and indicators, but what do we always also talk about? Risk management, right? And these are the days where, you know, that really comes into effect. You have to spend hours and hours and hours practicing risk management for a once in a month type of day where that will be put to the test. So that's why we show up every single night. That's why we prepare. And yeah, we're gonna start off with Bitcoin, talk about the market. We'll talk about CLOV, FSR, plug, SDC, ticker requests after that, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. All right, so start off with Bitcoin. Pretty large sell-off, down about like 11% in 25 hours or so. And it's just kind of in a it's literally in the middle of this very important zone, this like little yellow shaded area I have. I shared this on Twitter earlier today. I mean, it's pretty clear. This was your resistance in January, May, June, and the beginning of August, but it was also your support in February and this month. It has been your support so far. We'll see if it can continue to hold. You know, Bitcoin was down like another 3%, like half an hour ago, and it just kind of bounced up a little bit. But we'll see. I think right now it's in a make or break area, and I just need more data still to kind of get a better read on what could be next for Bitcoin. So that's really about it. It is oversold on the 4-hour chart. I don't think it's oversold on the daily. So yeah, you are oversold currently. The last time the RSI was around this level was April 19th, it looks like, which pretty much led to eventually like a 27% bounce. But again, it can get more oversold. You never know. We'll see what happens. Let's talk about the market now. We're actually going to start off with actually, maybe we wait till this opens. We'll come back to that later. Let's talk about the US stock market for right now. We're going to start off with the VIX volatility index. It was up 24% at the close. It was up higher intraday, and then like in like the final half an hour of the day, the market kind of rallied, like halfway back up. But yeah, I mean, we talked about last night on stream that on Friday the VIX closed back above that 20 level. You know, above 20 is when I take caution. You know, Under 20 is when I'm kind of relaxed. But once we get above 20, it's a little bit interesting. And if you see, I've had this green box charted on my volatility index chart for a while now. It's just like a historical area. If we go over to the weekly time frame, actually maybe the monthly, you can just kind of see that there's, you know, certain highs. I think the weekly is more clear actually. Just sometimes you get certain highs within each of these two green zones. I just kind of charted those a lot, like months ago. And you kind of hit the beginning part of this green zone around 28, and then you pull back there intraday. There's a gap to fill at 21.52. I'm sure that'll fill eventually. I don't know when, but we'll see. And that's really it for the volatility index. I mean, I know a lot of people have been looking at this like a wedge or just like a channel, something like that, but it would still just kind of be inside of it. Let's talk about the market now. We got a lot to talk about when it comes to the market. I think we're gonna start off with the NASDAQ. Steven says Lucid. Yeah, Lucid had a good day today, went against the market. Not surprised. If you watched last Thursday night's stream, I shared like a mini watch list with everybody. Lucid was on it. It was breaking out of a falling wedge with, I think, classic bullish divergence on the daily. Lucid's had, I think, non-stop green days for like the past 3 days or something, maybe even longer. But yeah, Lucid's been crushing it. The NASDAQ, you know, I was talking about this on both the NASDAQ and the QQQ. You had a bearish pattern and ascending broadening wedge. We talked about this last night. And you had a partial rise inside of the bearish pattern, which means bulls were unable to get the price action back to the top of the pattern, and it came to the bottom of the pattern before hitting the top, and that gives you about a 70% probability of breaking to the downside with the partial rise. We talked about this yesterday night, and today you got your break to the downside. I don't know, kind of, I think the NASDAQ and tech might have just followed the S&P today. The S&P kind of bounced at an interesting level we're going to talk about in a little bit. But I think the NASDAQ may have just bounced at the same, because the level I see for the QQQ is like 360 from this low and this low. It didn't really get there, got to like 361, and then it kind of bounced. We could take a look at the NASDAQ as well. Kind of the same thing. I mean, it's not really at a major level. I think 14,200 is a little bit more of a major level. I'm already losing my voice. I don't know why. But tomorrow, I'd say just today's low is your most important support. And then in terms of resistance, today's high, but also there's the gap fill. You never know. Let me just clear my throat. All right, so let's go over to the S&P 500. Probably spend a little bit more time on this. I'm just looking at the daily charts first. I'm going to go over to the 1 hour charts. But yeah, looking at the S&P, I kind of charted these three little zones. I just made them yellow, green, red randomly, but these are kind of the interesting areas I'm watching for the S&P 500. This is the first one. You can see it was kind of support over here. Kind of broke under that intraday, but closed in that rough zone. It's also the 38% retrace from this low to this high. If this area in general cannot hold, then I think 42.33-ish is the next area. It was like highs from May, lows from July, and it's your golden retrace. If that area breaks, then I think you got like the 4100 area. It was support for a little bit over here. It's around your 88% retrace and right around your 200-day moving average. On top of all that, we actually did break and close under 50-day moving average. We've been talking about this for a while now. I know a lot of other people are talking about it, but the whole entire year, the S&P, apart from this low, which was pretty much when it hit the bottom of the wedge. If you were here back in March, that was a really good time. Well, at least after that was a good time, but yeah, it's been bouncing off of this 50-day moving average all year. This white line, you could see how many times it bounced off of it. And then today, it was not able to. It actually gapped under it and stayed under it all day. So definitely breached that 50-day moving average. So just go over to your next moving average, which is the 100-day moving average. It did close above it. It got under it for a little bit today. It even actually, when it first touched it, it bounced off of it for a little bit, and then it eventually broke under, and then it got back over it in the last like half an hour of the day. So going into tomorrow for the S&P 500, just simple. Today's low is a support. Today's high is a resistance. If you break over today's high tomorrow, then you got the gap fill at 44.27 for the S&P 500. If you break under today's low, then you could be headed down to around like 42.30ish. Maybe not tomorrow, but you know, in the coming days or coming weeks. But yeah, that's really my technical read for the S&P on the daily right now. Again, you're still in an uptrend. This is not even a correction. It's not even a 10% move. I think you're down about 4% from the highs. Around 5% was your low, and you closed around 4% from the high. If we take a look at this though, you could see from your high to where the market closed today it's a 4% drop. If we go back over here, 4% drop. If we go back over here, 4% drop. This one's I think a little bit less. Let's see. Got a 4% drop there as well. Over here, if it'll load, 5% drop, and then over here, 4% drop. So pretty much all the dips or pullbacks in the S&P 500 this year have been 4 to 5% from the you know, all-time high that it put in just before the dip. It's been making new all-time highs all year. And again, we dipped about 4 or 5%, and then we started bouncing in the last half an hour of the day. So that's another interesting thing I'm looking at. On top of all of this, I mean, obviously you had, you know, everything going on with China right now. I don't know what time the market opens. I think it's maybe 9:30 my time. I can't remember because it was open yesterday night on stream, but we'll talk about it. Yeah, Evergrande, everything going on with the real estate in China. It's not looking good. Obviously, a lot of fear around that all over the world, just because I don't know what that song is. Just fear all over the world, you know, because you could see a major company was over risked, and that could be the case for other companies that we just don't know about yet. So I don't know. I think it's not necessarily a direct factor for our economy, but it was kind of like a cherry on top for all these other things that we've been talking about. And eventually it could, you know, trickle down into other things and maybe, you know, affect other stuff, but still very, very early. I've read up on everything a little bit. I'm not super knowledgeable on everything that's kind of happened over there, but definitely it was a primary concern coming into today. So, you know, on top of this for the S&P 500, if we actually go over to lower time frames, the 1 hour, let's actually go over to the SPY to look at this. X-ray goggles in the Discord spotted this bullish cipher, pretty textbook, and again, it hasn't like fully played out, but very, very good start. I think he was talking about it before it even got down to the PCZ. He was talking about that 428 level, the 786 retrace, and the S&P 500 ended up making a bullish hammer off of that level, and then just a really, really good fall through in the final half an hour of the day. So interesting harmonic here. Once I saw X-ray goggles share that idea in the Discord, I just started looking at the other stuff. And if we go to the ARK ETF, there's a bullish bat harmonic with potential triple classic bullish divergence on the 1 hour. If you go over to the Russell 2000, there is somewhat a cipher. The B point's a little bit shallow, and then I think the C point, I think you need a 1414 max. So it's a rough cipher as well for the IWM. It's not super perfect, but pretty similar to the SPY right there. So 1 hour time frames, you got really oversold intraday today. You actually have XABCD formations on the indices, and I don't know. Low time frames are really interesting. I think, don't quote me on this, but I think the last couple of times we had a day as bad as today for the market, we gapped up the following day. I think like the last 2 times we had a day as bad as today, the following day there was a gap up. Don't quote me on that, look it up yourself. But yeah, you know, we'll see what happens. Right now futures they're green but not super green, and we'll see. You know, if I'm just going to give my honest opinion, this is not financial advice. I really could care less about whether I'm right or wrong. That's not why I trade. Obviously I want to be right more than wrong, but I trade just to learn how to react to situations, if that makes sense. When I'm right, capitalize on that. When I'm wrong, minimize losses on that. But again, this is not for, you know, don't talk to me in 2 weeks if this is completely wrong. This is just a rough gut feeling, how I'm feeling. I think we have a short-term bounce from here. I think we got really oversold really, really quickly. But I also don't know how long a bounce would last. I mean, maybe we tap all-time highs again. We're still in an uptrend. We're still making higher highs and higher lows for right now. But I just think we're starting to get to that point where like every single time we get a pullback, it gets a little bit more scary. Like, is this the one? You know, I don't think we're going to be in a bear market this year, but definitely you could see some short-term bearish momentum. So just my gut feelings, like short-term at some point this week, I think. I mean, you already got in the final half an hour of the day, but I think we still have a little bit more to bounce back, even if we open red tomorrow or whatever. I think we're going to see some sort of a bounce this week. You got to remember, we've only had 3 green days this month for the S&P, and that's, you know, we don't need to have a green day for the rest of the month, but I'm just thinking that's a little bit, you know, over the top. So I do think we're going to have a few more green days this month for the S&P 500, just a gut feeling, but I don't think that necessarily that rally or bounce is going to be super heated, if that makes sense. That's just my gut feeling. This is not really me talking about technicals or fundamentals. That's just how I'm feeling, you know, how I'm looking at things. I could care less about if that's correct or if that's wrong in 2 or 3 weeks. I'm just sharing what I kind of feel, but I'm gonna take it day by day. I'm having an open mind. Maybe that opinion changes tomorrow, but that's just how I'm kind of not forecasting things, but that's just my intuition for right now. My eyes like itchy, where I think we got oversold too quickly. We might see a little bit of a technical bounce here, especially off of that 100-day moving average for the S&P 500. But I'm just, even if we do bounce and if we continue to bounce, I'm still going to be pretty skeptical, just because you still have tapering, you still have inflation, you still have whatever is going on with Delta variant, you have whatever is going on with China. And then I think on Wednesday we have the FOMC meeting. So it's like, there's a lot of, you know, turbulence. So I'm very, very, very short term. I'm not going to say bullish, but I just think we could see a technical bounce. But midterm, I'm still proceeding with caution. I'd like to see the market just go higher and higher and higher, but things start adding up at a certain point, you know? So that's just my gut feeling. But we'll see. That was literally the furthest thing from financial advice. That's just me trying to think whatever I can. The Russell 2000, I actually charted a separate demand line for this today because it bounced up right over here. So you kind of have like, you know, this touch and then 3 other touches here. So you kind of have like 2 different demand lines that I have charted for the Russell 2000. It did close under the 200-day moving average and under the 219 support. So not a good technical day for the Russell, but again, I mean, all the indices got pretty oversold on low time frames. And I honestly was thinking towards the end of the day that we might just kind of trade flat. The final half an hour rally did surprise me a little bit. And honestly, I would have preferred us to have that tomorrow, if that makes sense, because now we're going into tomorrow where we already did kind of rally halfway back up. So, you know, what was once support is now resistance, and we're closer to that resistance now. Rather than having a larger range up to that resistance tomorrow, we have a smaller range. Does that make sense? Like, for example, if we close right over here, like towards the low of the day, you'd have a longer potential move to the upside, at least just to retest resistance. However, since we already rallied at the end of the day, we don't have that much room before we retest resistance. So even if you do gap up tomorrow, you could gap up right into supply, because that was a previous area of demand on Friday. So that's why, you know, we'll see. And then finally for the ARK ETF, still just kind of in this range. It was down like, I think, over 5% at one point today. I think that's only happened a couple times this year. So yeah, still just kind of in a range to me. That's how I'm looking at it mainly. But yeah, it's definitely a hectic market right now, to say the least. We'll see how long it lasts, but I don't know. It's just like you hit the 100-day moving average, got a little bit under it, but you closed above it. You have an upside gap to fill. The last couple of times you gapped down like this, you could see the following day was green. Same thing over here, gap down into green, gap down, have 2 red days, go back to green. 4% pullbacks have been very normal all year. It's like, it's kind of the same thing we've seen 4 or 5 times, like in the beginning of January, March, May, June, July, like these little pullbacks. It's kind of like the same type of move, but a little bit of a different fundamental scenario, I guess. So that's my thoughts on the market. Not financial advice. There's so many different ways to be looking at things right now. It's like there can be an argument made to either side at the end of the day. So I just like to stay open-minded. You know, I have certain opinions and gut feelings like I was talking about earlier, but I'm not too like hell-bent on those feelings having to be correct, and I need to call it things and whatever. Like whatever happens is what happens. I'm not here to try and you know, change things, because that's out of my control, you know, what the market does. I'm just trying to understand it day by day. All right. So that's really my thoughts on the market for right now. Those are levels I'm watching tomorrow. We'll see. I'm really interested to see how tomorrow goes. Futures kind of bouncing up a little bit right now. The Dow Jones as well. I mean, we talked about this rising wedge, I think, last week. It broke down as well, kind of bounced off the support I had charted. The dollar didn't really move too much, neither did the 10-year. And so there we go. We got an open over here for the Hang Seng Index. Gap down, kind of right at this level right here. Actually slightly under yesterday's lows. And then I don't know when this opens, Evergrande. I just pulled up the ticker. So I'm interested to see how this does. I don't even know. Maybe they halted or something. I don't even know what's going on with how they're going to run that today, if they are. Or if it is running at this point. Who knows? But I think they still have some, like, last chances. We'll see how things work out. Kind of just down 1% right now. Not too much of a movement. Let me go over to the 15-minute. Yeah, it literally just opened 3 minutes ago. I don't know. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the market. We'll probably move on over into Clover now. Then we'll talk about FSR, then SDC. Might be a little bit of a shorter stream tonight. I gotta wake up early tomorrow. What else we got in the chat? I like that the Cheeto lock meme, Cheddar Freeze. X-ray goggles, the man himself who kind of did call where that S&P bounced today, says TA is fake. We bounced because of the new corn harvest moon. And it's a new moon today. Yeah. Nicholas says, I think we had lower in the short term, but who knows when. I mean, at this point, it's like probably both are going to happen. We're probably going to go up and down, believe it or not. Yeah, the market's probably going to go up and down. Who knows? Maybe go sideways. Cheddar Free said, started trading in 2007 before I got wrecked in 2008, but I'm sure in hindsight, of course, I'm not saying this in like a way, you know, I have no clue how that affected you, but I'm just saying now, you know, you have that experience under your belt and you got through it, right? But of course, I'm sure it was tough for a lot of people. I was 6 years old then, so I can't really speak much about that. Jeff O'Connor with the quote saying the market doesn't care what I think. I mean, it's just the truth. You know, I care about what the market is thinking, but the market does not care about what I think. 9:30 is the open. Okay, thank you. Tario, appreciate it. Hope you're doing well as well. We're not doing ticker quest just yet, Bony Nerd. We will later, most likely though. Alright, so let's talk about Clover. We'll start off with the daily. Not too much, honestly, on the daily. You still have potential hidden bullish divergence as long as 742 is held. My thoughts on today in general. I talked about this last night. We did have a bullish hammer somewhat coming into this week. I think it was already looking good. You know, last night I think the technicals already still looked good. Do I still think they look good? Yeah, but I just think the most obvious and the easiest explanation is the market had one of the worst days of the year today, and Clover dropped 5%. I mean, can't be surprised. The S&P was down like around 3% at one point. The ARK was down over like 5% at one point. So yeah, just kind of did what most other stocks did today. Unfortunately, that did not really align with how the technical setup was looking into the week, but we'll never know what Clover would have done today if the market was green or whatnot. Going over to the 4 hour, one thing I do like, however, is that you somehow are still developing the hidden bullish divergence. The first 4-hour candle of the day, you know, the MACD was actually not waning, but then I guess there's like a 10-cent bounce for Clover in the afternoon, and did get a little bit of at least sideways action on the MACD. So I also recharted like a little bit of a wedge idea for the 4-hour. It's not really like a full thought out wedge where you have like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 touches. It's just kind of like a visual thing. There's a lot of times when you can have, this is something that a lot of people don't understand. You have textbook patterns, and then you also just have like visual patterns. For an example, let me go over to the S&P. Let's go over to the 15-minute chart. Okay, take a look at this right over here. This little candle setup, right? These candles right here. So this could be called a potential double bottom, right? I mean, obviously in hindsight, if it were to have bounced off of this, this could be potentially called a double bottom, right? You bottomed once, you bottomed twice, but that's not a textbook double bottom pattern. A textbook double bottom pattern looks something like this, okay? And then you break over your neckline of the double bottom. So there's sometimes visual patterns and then textbook patterns. A lot of people don't understand that, right? So that's like an example with like a double bottom. You can just have like a candlestick double bottom, but then there's an actual double bottom pattern. Same thing for wedges. You can have like an actual falling wedge, which looks probably something more like this, where you have a bunch of different moves, but then you can also just have visual wedging price actions. Does that make sense? So that's kind of what I'm just looking on the 4-hour. It's not really much, but just charted it to make it easier for me to visualize the price action. The RSI also hidden bullish divergence developing. This 37 level on the RSI, the last 2 times it was here, Clover bounced, and I'll kind of line that up for all of you. The last time that Clover was at 37 on the 4-hour RSI was right over here, and then the time before that Clover was at 37 on the RSI, or is that over here? So the last 2 times the RSI on the 4-hour was around this level, you had about a 50% move, and then the time before that about a 23-4% move again. But I'm just talking about a level that could break under that level tomorrow if it's a red day and become much lower. I'm not saying it's going to bounce there for sure, just bringing up another probability, or not even a probability, just something else to look at. We'll see if it can hold that 37 level on the 4-hour RSI. If we go over to the daily, I do like that it closed above 785 today. That was kind of where you bottomed out over here and over here. If we go over to the 1-hour chart, you can see 785 is where it bottomed on the 27th and the 4th. So it got a little bit under that for a little bit of time today, and then it ended up closing above it. Even printed a 1-hour bullish pin bar, a 4-hour bullish pin bar, and then a daily indecision candle. And then probably the biggest thing right now, that's somewhat new development, but I was talking about this last week as well. It just didn't complete until today. I talked about this, I think last Thursday night on stream. I talked about this, and the price was somewhere around over here, but it's now complete. You know, I was saying it needed to drop down to that 785-ish level to hit the PCZ area of the bullish bat. I've, you know, already had this XABCD charted for a while. I was just waiting for it to kind of hit that level, and it did today, roughly. So you're at the PCZ of a bullish bat, the 2618 from B to D, roughly the 886 from X to D. It's a pretty textbook bullish bat. You also have 1-hour potential classic bullish divergence on the MACD. There's already 15-minute classic bullish divergence, and then 30-minute potential triple classic bullish divergence. So low time frames kind of look similar to the market. I mean, it's just following the market for right now. You know, you have a harmonic on low time frames with bullish divergence, just like the QQQ and the SPY and the IWM. And then on the 4-hour, you do have some hidden bullish divergence. And then on daily, it's a little bit unclear. So we'll see. But really, I think getting back above 8 is probably the most important thing. If we go back over to the daily, you can see that, you know, really Clover has not closed more than 2 days under $8, right? This day closed above 8. You know, it broke under 8, but it closed above 8. I mean, how do I put this better? You haven't really closed more than 2 days under like this orange line, which is like 782, right? So you broke under it, you closed above it. Over here, you only broke under it for 2 days and then you got back above it. Today, you broke under it, but you closed above it. So you can kind of see clearly that like this 780-ish level, you don't want to kind of stay in it for too long. You know, it's broken $8 a couple times in this range, but the last 2 times it did that, it got back above $8 within a few days. So that's one thing you'd probably be looking out to see if it can spring right back above 8. In terms of the Wyckoff, I was talking about this last night on stream. I'm not really too concerned with it anymore, primarily because, and I talked about this last week and last night on stream, it could already be argued that it played out. We started talking about the spring in the Wyckoff idea down over here, and eventually the price went up to here in 20 days. So a 50% move in 20 days. I know like nobody else cared, but it was cool to me. So I don't know, you know, it kind of did break under the creek today. If it gets back above like 815-ish, actually if it gets back above like $8, then you're back above the creek, but we'll see. And I talked about this a long time ago. It's like, it's up to you how you want to perceive it. You could already perceive it that it already played out, or you could perceive it that it's the back above the creek and, you know, it's just kind of the market pulling it under for a little bit when you had one of the worst days of the year. There's different ways to interpret it. I just don't think that's the most important thing anymore. I think the Wyckoff did a really great job of explaining the price action over here. And now it's just kind of like, you know, you could look at it the same way, but it's not really going to line up perfectly, right? So just for not educational purposes, but just for it aligning with like the psychology of what's happening right now, we'll see. So yeah, that's really how I'm looking at Clover for right now. Guess we could take a look at the options today, then we'll talk about Fisker, which put out a new swing idea for Fisker, and it's in profit, surprisingly, because of what the market did today. Says it was pretty much all calls to puts today. Pretty low activity though, you definitely are seeing a decrease. And we talked about this last night. And we also talked about this a while ago, but you can see over here the historical IV pretty much got down to like the lowest level possible. We talked about this last night on stream. Obviously today was not green, but the last like 3 or 4 times you've gotten this low on the historical IV rank, CLOV did bottom. It happened towards the end of August, and we obviously saw the move to 11 in the beginning of this month. It happened towards the end of May, and then that eventually led to the all-time highs in June. And then it also happened when CLOV was around all-time lows in March. And I think it moved up to like 12 in April, if I'm not mistaken. So that's one thing. We'll see. Wow, that's actually a... Is that right? That's a large difference. Okay. So $10 calls, I think we're at 90,000 in open interest last night. So a large decrease in that. That's interesting. That's actually the first time I've seen that large of a decrease in $10 strikes. What might have happened is Clover is now over $2 under $10. So a lot of people with $10, what is this song? A lot of people with $10 calls might be starting to think, or might, you know, I'm not telling you to think this if you're in $10 calls. I'm just saying for other people, what might be the reason for this is now that it's so far under that $10 strike, people might be losing hope that, you know, their calls are going to, or the price is going to go back up to 10 before their contracts expire. So a lot of people might have just like maybe stopped themselves at $10 calls. So that might be a reason for it. I don't know what the actual reason for it is, but definitely a decrease there, which is not a good thing, but also at the same time, it could lead to less delta hedging. So I don't know, because there could be delta hedging to either side if I'm not mistaken, right? So there could be hedging in terms of buying shares to offset, you know, risk in terms of market makers, but also shorting shares to offset risk based on how the options train is kind of lined up. So that's really it for Clover. We'll see what happens. I'm hoping it goes up. You never know. This is all just probability. Don't want to overcomplicate things. And Fisker. We talked about it for a good amount of time last night on stream. I did a little bit of a segment where I showed all of my merch. And Ended up putting out a swing idea for Fisker today. Obviously not financial advice, just technicals and probabilities and my personal opinions. And it could obviously fail, you never know. But bullish Gartley, bounced at the PCZ and a historical support level at 1215. And you have an edge. You have triple classic bullish divergence on the daily for Fisker. I think that's the first time it's ever had triple classic bullish divergence on the daily. And today, it was technically down 1.5%, but it did gap down, and during market hours, it did go up, right? So it opened over here and it closed here. So from open to close, it was technically higher than the open, but it still technically did gap down. So also on the 4 hour, I have a little bit of like a descending, mini descending broadening wedge charted. And then 4 hour classic bullish divergence. Like, these are the variables I look for time and time again on swings in general. Daily and 4 hour divergence with harmonics and supports. So you got that. Doesn't mean it's going to go up for sure, but I like the probability. We'll see if the probability plays out or not. However, I will say this is a stronger edge. From a technical standpoint, you have more arguments right now than you did over here and over here. So just saying, you have more divergence on the daily. I think there was 4 hour divergence. Obviously, there was daily divergence over here, but you also have that 4 hour wedge. I mean, it's probably more similar to this swing idea I put out over here. That was like a 60% gain back in May than the first one. So, yeah, we'll see. I hope it goes well. I'm rooting for it, obviously. And then another new swing idea I shared today was plug. Somebody requested it last night on stream in the chat. And I already had it charted, I think, from last week, which I might have also looked at it then, but just kind of re-looked at it last night and noticed that it kind of is trying to double bottom off of 2368. It's in a downsloping channel over here that it might be breaking out of. There's also triple classic bullish divergence on the daily or plug over here. And the context, right? If you zoom out, the context is potentially it hit the PCZ of a bullish Gartley. It put in a reversal low, as Mitch Ray and Scott Carney would talk about, and now this could potentially be the confirmation low. So reversal low, you have an impulse spike at the PCZ, and then buyers kind of retest that one more time. But we'll see. And then in the retest, you have a double bottom. So it's like a double bottom of a potential higher low double bottom. And then even more so, I don't know, I haven't even tried this out yet, but let's see. Maybe. It's a little bit shy, but kind of like a mix of a cipher and a shark. I mean, maybe even more so of just a cipher at the PCZ of the Gartley. Let me see. I can't remember the C point for ciphers. I think they're a little bit different. So sharks have max or minimum 113s, and ciphers also have 113. So pretty close to a bullish cipher as well at the PCC. So it hit the PCZ of a bullish Gartley, and then it made a bullish cipher off of that. Then it double bottomed at the PCZ of the bullish cipher, but that's technically also potential higher low double bottom of the bullish Gartley. Does that make sense? Probably not, but it's like, wow, I don't know, we'll see. So that's the idea for plug right now. Just threw the potential stop loss. I'm saying potential because it's always up to you. It's your money, you do what you want, but I just threw it under those previous two lows with a little bit of wiggle room. So we'll see. And then finally, this is not an ongoing, actually it technically is for premium members, but I already hit the first target. SDC, we were talking about it like 2 weeks ago on stream in this falling wedge with classic bullish divergence on the daily. We were talking about this in the mid $5 area after hitting the PCZ of a bullish butterfly, and it ended up pretty much, probably since when we started talking about it, to the highs last week, going up like almost 40%. And today it was down a few percent. I think it actually went up like 5% after hours or something. I can't remember. There's a small gap to fill on SDC around $6. And you have shown both on Friday and today resistance around like the mid $7 area, or like 740-ish. So keep that in mind. I don't really think there's much of a technical change. I just wanted to bring it up. So we'll see if we can hit that second target for premium members. Already hit this first one for a 22% gain. It's not overbought on the daily yet. Of course, I know there's a lot of chatter on it on social media, and it does have a high short interest. So we'll see what SDC got in store. I think 6 is your support. 740-ish is your resistance. If it breaks that, then, I mean, and this probably depends on the volume, but $9 could be eventually tested. Maybe if it squeezes in a week, or maybe if it doesn't squeeze in months. Again, I'm just bringing up different variables. Or if not, you never know. But I mean, if we're just gonna look at the wedge, then your golden retrace is like 10 to 1150-ish, or golden zone is 10 to 1150-ish. So I don't know, we'll see. And yeah, it's the majority of the rundown for the stream tonight. Probably just gonna do 2 requests for like 15 minutes or something, and then get out of here. But yeah, keep hitting that like button. I know it's definitely less interest to watch the stream on days like this. Not for all of you who are currently watching, but for a lot of other people. But always just got to show up and put in the work, so you know you are prepared going into the market every single day. So hit that like button if you're enjoying the stream. If you're not, then maybe don't. And I just realized I never switched back to my other overlay. Wow. I meant to do this, but it's all good. Sorry if the chat was like blocking everything. I don't know. So yeah, let's see what's up in the chat. See this screen says I can't believe they would crash the whole market just because CLOV ended with the bullish hammer. That's a good one. Yeah, the thumbnail. I made the thumbnail green because I'm personally tired of seeing red on all these charts today. So why not throw green onto it? X-Ray Goggles says we're all just Fibonacci patterns inside of a giant harmonic Fibonacci sequence. I think X-Ray Goggles started learning about Fibonacci and is starting to kind of like go crazy. I'm not gonna lie. He's always talking about lunar cycles and ciphers, and I don't know what's up with him. I think he's kind of unlocked the key to the universe or something. Why cuss as I wait for the confirmation low on FSR? The only thing that I was thinking about that as well, and again, it could put that in. You know, I was just thinking that 4-hour divergence is pretty much set up, and there's a 4-hour descending broadening wedge. And also, this might not be a direct correlation, but Lucid has been running, and FSR and Lucid are probably 2 of the closest names in the EV space. Or at least the argument could be made. I know a lot of people might just get mad at me saying that. I really could care less. But yeah, I mean, it's possible that FSR drops back down to 12.15 and retest it. The stop is under that regardless, though. That's why I also said if you're in the Discord, I said cost averaging could be optimal. Not financial advice, though. Oh yeah, so don't request anything. I was up over 30% today. I'm sure there wasn't too much that was, but there's always something. Don't request anything that IPO within the last month, and nothing I say is financial advice. I'm probably only do like 10-15 minutes. I am pretty tired right now, and then I'll get out of here. Also remember, in these types of market conditions, you got to take everything with a grain of salt. Medi says, was just about to tell you that because ticker is going to be hard without seeing the top. Yeah. I switched it back though. Could be looked at as like a bullish bat. Hit the PCZ, which is also slightly like a historical area around like 480-ish. Bounced at it, and you had a reversal low and then a potential confirmation low here. And then even on this PCZ, kind of like a plug, maybe like a mini harmonic there as well, like a shark maybe. I don't know if it's an 886 though. Pretty close to a shark. As the potential double bottom at the PCZ, you have a harmonic in between that, just like plug. It's crazy. So that's how I'd probably be looking at. I just want to see it hold above probably 480-ish. You do have some resistance at 685, around $8, and then eventually gap fill at 940. And somewhat, it could be argued you have maybe just bullish convergence if you want to be super technical about it on the daily. ENG, I already had a harmonic charted here, kind of failed, but a bat could turn into an alternate bat. Maybe you could argue that it just broke out of this, I don't know if I'd call it a wedge, just like a down sloping, I don't even know if I call it that, just it broke out of a trend line, and it's just kind of been going sideways since, so you probably just want to hold, I mean honestly you probably just want to hold this area right here, this whole entire area, like 150 to $2. Otherwise, if you break that, then it could head back down to like 132, which is a historical resistance. If it can't hold above it, I mean, next major resistance is 384. You got some at like $3, kind of. Really all I could do there. SOFI potentially hit the PC or around the PCZ of an alternate bat, and it's trying to make some higher lows off of that. MACD is losing momentum on the daily, and it's kind of still testing that like mid $14 area, which was support in April and May. That's really all I got. You probably just want to hold your previous most recent higher low at 1438 in the short term. GNUS, it was at the demand line, potential inverse head and shoulders at the PCZ of a bullish bat, and then the market kind of is not really helping it out. So now it's kind of under, you know, the inverse head and shoulders is invalidated at this point, and it broke the demand line. So historically, 131 is the next support. We'll see. You never know. And then App Harvest, there's not much I can do here. Your support's like 664, and you have a gap fill at 1171. I mean, potentially, it kind of looks like Wish to me. Maybe it double bottoms here, maybe it doesn't. Pretty good volume on Friday. Maybe a bullish hammer today as well. That's really all I got though. Not too much data to work with there. American Airlines was up 3% today. Wow. Broke out of a descending broadening wedge. It's just trying to get above the 200-day moving average now. It's kind of showed resistance at around $21 since like the end of August. If it breaks it, there's room to $22.16. If not, you have a pretty good support area around really the whole entire $18 level is kind of like your support. And there is classic bullish divergence currently playing out. IVR, I just want to see it hold 297. That's literally it. It's right above it. I just want to see it continue to hold that. You do have a gap fill around 332. 330-ish is probably the largest resistance I see, and $3 is probably the strongest support I see. Hopefully you can hold that. Otherwise, there's a gap fill to like 288, and then maybe support around like the mid $2 level. All right. Oh, you didn't want to actually look at the ticker EL? Oh no, somebody else. I don't know. Oh, that's a different person. You just confused me too. It's all good. I think we're all tired after today. So yeah, maybe we'll just call it a short stream for the night. I gotta wake up early either way. So yeah, thank you for watching the stream. Hit the like button if you didn't already. Join the Discord, links in the description. Hit the subscribe button. And I'll be, actually I won't, I don't know. Depends if Medi's gonna be going live tomorrow night. But there most likely will be a stream tomorrow night at 9 p.m. EST, so it'll be on the same channel. It might be me, it might not be me, it might be somebody else. Well, if it's somebody else, it'll be Medi and the rest of the co-hosts, but we'll see. All right. So have a great night. Peace out, everybody. Luck tomorrow. That was the wrong one. Hold up.